Welcome, everyone. My name is Robert Canis, and this is another Beyond the Courage podcast. I'm super excited today because our guest today is Bill Letson, who had one of the most profound NDEs I ever heard. How you doing, Bill, today?
I'm wonderful, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And before I ask you about your NDE experience, I would like to ask you, how was your life before, and what have changed after this superbly profound experience?
My life was pretty good. I grew up in California. I had everything went well through my whole life. I was a California surfer, and great parents, great sisters, lovely girlfriends, lots of buddies. We're on the swim team, and we were all surfers together, and it was awesome. It was like a movie. And then I had to go to work in my teens, and I found firefighting, and I just loved that every day. I would have done it for free. And then along the line, along the way, I had this this thing where I got exposed, and that kind of thing is normal for firefighters. We're always getting electrocuted or run down, or breaking a limb, or crash landing. It's a wild, cool job. And every 3 years you get a scare, and that was one of mine, which was getting exposed to that really powerful flu bug, the Beijing flu, and things went wrong, and I just left my body. I was just flying out of here.
Would you say that when you were young, your life was a bit different than other young people? Have you ever expected something like this to happen in your heart?
Oh no,
That something that unusual may happen.
no, I didn't expect anything to ever happen, and just thought I was an average guy, pretty happy with that. Not bringing a lot of attention to himself, and just doing a job he loved, and taking care of family, and that was enough for me. So yeah, I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't looking for anything spiritual. I was raised Catholic, so that kind of it's kind of hard on you, and you kind of turn away from it because there's so much guilt and shame, and that's coming from the priests and the nuns, and everybody's guilty of something, and so I found peace outdoors, and alone on the beach or in the backcountry. I found the divine. That's where I felt my best. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
You have mentioned in one of your interviews that the purpose of the game of life is to wake up during the game. Would you be so kind and elaborate on that?
Yeah, we come into these lives. I'm Bill Letson right now for here and now, but I'm something way bigger, way more eternal and infinite. This being that we all are, and so we come into thousands of lives, and it's a really super all-encompassing illusion that we are this single, this separate, and then we've got this whole, you look at your birth chart, your astrology, we've got this whole sort of hand of cards that is what's going to be our strong suits and our weak suits, and what we're going to be drawn towards, and it's all sort of, you can really tell from a person's when they were born, where they were born, the exact numbers. You can tell pretty much a lot of their personality, and so we play the game thousands of times. We play the game countless times because we're here as plants and animals and trees and insects. We come into this life. It's sort of an amusement park. And then the human thing is sort of the final round. And, I've heard 15, 20,000 lives. And we get adequately processed to where the illusion isn't working on us as well anymore, and we're starting to make choices that are higher vibration, like kindness and compassion and understanding and sweetness. It's like we're young souls that we're on a tree and we're being ripened, we're being processed to be good souls, sweet, kind souls. And we get all the rough edges out of us. We can take lives that do all kinds of things, and good and bad. And then the whole thing we start to grow out of it, and we start to slowly realize who we really are. And all of us in the human game are getting intuitive nudges. We're getting synchronicities. All of us, no matter who it is, we're all getting whispered to wake up. And then when it's time for you to go, you've been in the restaurant too long, then they'll come over and give you an extra nudge, and and that's like a near-death experience, or out-of-body experience, or some sort of spiritual transformation, some kind of event. It could be with psychedelics, and suddenly you're faced with the question, wait a minute, who was I just now? Supposedly I was dead. I wasn't in that body, or I was on the ceiling, or I was someplace else, or something. And then we come back, and and that near-death experience, that's not a synchronicity or an accident, or it's a engraved invitation to wake up. It's a gold-leafed engraved invitation to awaken. And mostly in these times we come back, and we get a publicist, and then we write a book, and then we start talking about it. And it's rare that somebody says, wait, what was that? And mean it, and go and look. And that could be a shamanic thing, that could be a thing where you just go inward, and you don't join another religion, you don't get another book to quote from. You go inward and you ask the real question: who am I really, and what am I doing here? And the whole universe is watching all the time. That's what the whole thing with the all-seeing eye. It's supposed to be this horrible club that's after us all. But what it's telling us is it is a collective universe that's paying attention all the time. And when we start, that's the big step where we say, what's really going on here? And mean it. And, the clues are everywhere with that. Knock and the door will be opened. Seek and you will find. Ask and you will be answered. The other side is just waiting for us to say, maybe I'm not a human. Maybe I'm something way more. And what could that be? And you make an effort to look. That's the big thing. So you get the nudge, you get the engraved invitation, and then you take the invitation and you go and you look. And again, that can be with shamans, it can be with psychedelics, it can be with deep meditation, taking on a practice like that, and maybe following the Darius Wright program, where anybody can leave their body, and he can show them how to, just by putting the body to sleep, putting the mind to sleep, and realizing who you are. So yeah, your question was how do you awaken? Is that what you asked me? How do you know you're awakening or?
The question was because you said in one of your interviews that the purpose of the game of life is to wake up during the game, wake up during the life, not after
Right,
we go out of body, which we call death in our culture, right?
right.
So, what would you say, what would be your message right now to humanity that after your NDE experience, who we really are and what should we focus on being human?
Um, yeah. So with just to try to tie this together, my NDE was very similar to what Rick Strassman was doing with the New Mexico University, where he injected DMT into his volunteers, and they were going and seeing the same thing I had seen, and that blew my mind. So, um, with a little time went by, I was looking around for the right thing, but I went into Central America and found the right situation, and took that DMT that the shamans give in the ayahuasca, and had a similar experience, but not. I really wasn't invited that time. I sort of crashed the party, and there was a lot of, it's very stressful because you're sort of pulled into a place that you weren't really invited. But I realized it was, my NDE was not some fluke. It was a repeatable thing. And so to answer your question, if you want to know what's beyond this place, talk to the NDEer. They can tell you. There's hundreds of us out there. They're all legit. And talk to the shamans. They walk in those realms, and they can take you for a walk. It might be a rough walk, and then talk to the deep meditators that can put themselves deep asleep into a trance, and the body is asleep, and then the soul can move into those other dimensions, and you can experience that. So my message would be clearly that through silence and stillness and being in nature and raising your vibration with the water you drink and the food you eat, fill yourself up with the vibrant frequencies of the sun. I think we come from the sun, this spirit within us, this light. And if you do that, you will start vibrating back like the sun is vibrating, and you'll start to, the illusion starts to break down. And when that happens, then you absolutely know. You absolutely know that you never die. This is a temporary thing, being Bill Letson, being a human, and eventually you'll drop the costume, and you'll return to that wonderful, blissful environment that you can reach through an NDE and through, some people can with psychedelics, and through meditation. You can really hit it good with the meditation route. You can peel away into an ecstatic realm of bliss, and that's where we come from.
That's a really beautiful put. Thank you so much for such a beautiful message. I have the same very strong inner feeling that we come from the sun. Every time I see the sunset, I just stare to the very last moment until the sun disappears. There is
Do
something
you?
magical about it.
Yeah, I started doing this about. I had this voice come in. It came in from the left and behind me. That's like a common thing with people, and it told me I sleep outside, and it told me to get out of bed, go stand on the Mother Earth with your bare feet, and
Hmm.
look at the sun as it comes up, and that was absolutely hypnotic. And there were, I started getting these light codes, and they activate something in our DNA or something, and everything just started flashing. If you look at the sun, it's flashing wildly. There's all kinds of frequencies coming off of it. The outer maroon layer is spinning different directions at the same time, whatever that means. And then that inner white gold is flashing wildly. It has several frequencies in it. And it's not just a random burning ball at all. It's something really cool.
Yeah. Would you say that the sun is like a gateway to our home?
Yeah. It's a portal home. All these NDEers, they say the same thing. As soon as they're out of the body, they see a pinprick of light, and they move towards it. It gets bigger and bigger, and then they're going back to the light, the source of all light, the source of all warmth, and the source of all love is up there in the sky, and it's a doorway. It's a doorway home, and we're down here, sort of on life support. Light support, and it comes by every day, and the plants grow, and it captures the light, and the trees grow, and we capture the heat and the warmth, and if we look to the sun, play in the sun, we capture the love from the divine, and we carry it in our bodies, and we have wonderful lives. But mostly in today's times, we wear rubber shoes, and we hide from the sun, and everyone's staring at screens. Eating.
Why do you think that's what's happening right now? That people avoid sound, that we don't walk barefoot that much, that we stay indoors so much?
I think it's part of the script, and it's a really difficult time in the script to say I'm going to try something else. I'm going to remember that I did come from that portal, from the sun, and I'm going to try to reconnect with home. And it's not hard. You got everything you need wherever you are. You stand on the ground and structure your water in the sun and fill it up with emotions of love and happiness and good thoughts, and everything changes.
Yeah, thank you. So for those who don't know your story, would you be so kind and share your NDE experience, and then we can maybe you can build a context, and then we can talk more deeply about nature of life and being human.
Okay. So yeah, I was a fireman, and in '94 I was working in Santa Barbara, and we had a flu epidemic. We used to have them every few years, and this one was kind of rough. It was called the Beijing flu, and we went to a patient. She exhaled into my face, and I breathed her hot breath in, and we got her to the hospital. She came home in a week or so, and I knew I was infected with it, and within a couple of days, I was just like her. I was on my living room floor, waiting for the ambulance to arrive, waiting for the fire guys to arrive, and my vital signs were really shot. I was dehydrated, and it really took a toll on me. And I got to the hospital, and they had given me a bag of fluids on the way. I felt a little bit better, and then they gave me another one, and I was feeling pretty good in the emergency room. But they had lots of kids and old folks there that were had the same problems, and so I was, on the back burner. And so they were coming around trying to keep people happy, so they all were getting the same thing. And when the nurse came by, I just said, I don't need anything, but I didn't want to be one of those people. So I said, yeah, okay, whatever, you want to push it in. And so she pushed it in. It was this synthetic morphine, and when she put it in, my wife was there. When she put it in the IV, I just was gone. And she said, your eyes rolled back and you were gone, and they couldn't get a blood pressure. And it got real scary. And so they tried to reverse it a bunch of different ways, and I wasn't coming back. The highest blood pressure she heard was 40 over 0. Wow. So I was stable, hanging by a thread, but I was stable. And so they got me out of there, got me up to intensive care with all the machines and all that. And I was there for hours just hovering at, edge of death. And sometime through all that, I just flew out of my body. And the first thing I realized after I was sitting in the emergency room, but the next thing I realized, I was flying through this, through these stars, through these colorful lights, orbs, we call them. And it was nothing but welcoming and joy and praise, appreciation. And it felt like everybody, all those stars were reaching out and welcoming me, and they had color to them and vibration. It was really an amazing feeling. I've said that it felt like some sort of cosmic orgasm. Mm-hmm. It was just this standing wave of euphoria. It just wasn't something that overcame you and was a rush, and then it was just kept going. And it felt like somebody was pouring honey all over my brain, and it was running down all my nerves, and like I'd been crammed into a hot, dark closet, and suddenly I was out, and I was this huge, expanded cloud, flying somewhere, and I was really happy. And I was, the biggest thing that came across, that I said to myself was, man, how in the world did I forget who I really was? How did I believe I was this guy? And I had this whole story and history and plans for the future, and none of it meant anything. It was like I was playing a role, playing a game, and the game was over. And so I flew along and just loving life, happy to be home, could do that forever. And then everything shifted, and I was in this clinic. It was like a white room, and I've always said that it had indirect lighting, and I never understood, well, why do I have to say that every time? It was like a requirement, just like every time I had to say it was a cosmic orgasm. I don't know why, but I do know that room had its own light. It was made of light, and you were in the light, and there was a form to it. It was like a room, and there was equipment there, and beds and gurneys, and right in front of me there were these 3 little hooded guys, and the first thing I saw was them smiling back at me, and they were giggling, and they were talking to each other, and they were talking to me, and they were just on me, and they were like, man, how was it? What'd you learn? And they were like, when you come home and you have a bunch of dogs, you have a bunch of puppies, and they come running to the door, and it was exactly like that. And I was, looking at them. I don't know what I looked like, but I was something. And they kept asking questions, but they looked kind of like, well, is he gonna say something? And one guy came forward and looked at me up and down and turned, and to sort of explain the situation, he said, he doesn't remember us. And they just thought that was hilarious. They were giggling wildly, and that's an interesting thing, this whole remembering thing. And we talked before that my thing now is, the clock is running down, and I say it's time to remember. And in the work of Straussman, when his volunteers would leave the clinic and leave those little guys, they would say, "See you soon. Don't forget us," and they'd all giggle.
Yeah.
And it was this remembering thing. And when Terence McKenna, when he, would do his mega doses of DMT and blast through, and he'd say these elves, these machine elves, would just come tumbling towards him, and they'd be saying, "Oh, it's so good to see you. Nobody ever comes anymore.
Yeah.
How are you?" And
I remember. I'm a huge fan of Terence McKenna. There's his picture back there.
yeah, and his videos, anybody can pull them up. He talks about this, and
Yeah.
then as the DMT wears off, they sing "Deja Vu."
Deja vu. Yeah. I
Deja-
remember. Yeah.
And this is. I'm glad you're allowing this, because it's all about remembering. It was, they thought it was funny I didn't remember them, and
When you seen them, did you had some glimpses that you know them forever? When you seen them in the ND, or did it ring any
yeah,
bell?
I when I was a kid, and my wife picked up on it. When I was a kid, when I would wake up in the morning, it was every, once a month, twice a month. Uh, you know, Probably has something to do with the celestial events, energies. But I would wake up and I wouldn't be awake, but my eyes would be closed and I'd be squinting, and they'd be twitching wildly, she said, and I was giggling and like somebody was tickling me, and I'd be rolling around in the bed, and I'd be saying things like, "Come on, you guys," and she said sometimes you talk in this really bizarre language, and oh, I can't think of her name right now. But anyway, she in her NDE, she's one of my favorites. I saw her at a convention, and I just went straight over to her. Shoot, my memory's not as good. But she said that she was in this little, during her NDE, she ended up in this like nursery, or this like romper room, and they were the people that were there that were looking after her, these other beings, were saying things like, "How many hippos in a flim flam?" They were just saying these nonsensical things, and like children. And Louisa Peck,
Louisa Peck.
she's one of my favorites. Whenever something gets overwhelming, we'll call each other and say, "What do you think of this?" And because she's absolutely genuine. And in her thing, she flew through the sun. When she had her NDE, she flew out across the ocean, followed the rays of the sun, and flew through the filament of the sun, and was home, she said, and was absolutely euphoric in this light, that we come from. So yeah, something is going on with those guys, and I sometimes see them now. If I sit still, I'll see this outline. I'll be sitting over there in the recliner and taking a nap or something, and I'll see them come forward, like three of them, and there's this medium that her and I talk a lot, and she calls them the Watchers, and she says they're around all of us all the time, and they're just kind of the keeping the amusement ride going, kind of like a carny, like an orderly that's keeping our adventure going. So yeah, that answered your question, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's the first time I ever said that was this thing, because I've said that every time too, that he doesn't remember us. And Terence McKenna with the Deja Vu song, and also Straussman's volunteers, they would be laughing at them as they had to go back because their DMT was wearing off, and they would say, "Don't forget us," and they would giggle. So it all comes back to this remembering. very important.
And you mentioned in many of your interviews that you didn't want to go back to Earth, right? That you want to stay there.
Right. Yeah, there was this other taller guy that came forward, and he was, pure love, and he was this spinning energy, and he was just chuckling and smiling, and um, I tried to stay, and I was kind of killing, trying to check these boxes and stuff, and he played along, and then he said, "Time to go back. You've got things to do," and I'd forgotten all about this place and about Bill. I'd seen it as an illusion, a game. I didn't want to be, to drop back into the game. It's really hard here. I wanted to stay there in that bliss, but that wasn't my path, and I got it. I didn't put up too much of a fit, but this is really hard. This place is super hard for us to come into, to leave what we are. This connection to everyone else. All you want to do is fit in and give back, and then we come here, and what we want to do is take and stand out. This seems to be.
Would you say that the courage of being a human here on planet Earth makes that other side even more beautiful every time we come back?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're superstars. Even the people that we incarcerate and make fun of in the news, that this guy's a real, Dumbo, and he did this crime or whatever. We're all superstars. Just putting up with the script that we agreed to, the play, the tests. It's all challenges, and it's how are you going to react? Are you going to react with fear, or are you going to realize who you really are, and say, okay, circumstances are pretty crappy, but I'm not going to make it worse. I'm going to try to be a good person in this situation and look after everyone else. I think that's where we really score, when we behave like that. But everybody is celebrated on the other side. Everybody.
That's what I think so as well. A lot of people say in spirituality that in the spiritual world that planet Earth is the most challenging planet of all in the universe. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree, and it goes back to that key thing that keeps coming up, that we can't remember. We don't know who we really are. It's been erased or blocked, and that essence of our goodness, our divineness, when it starts to bleed through, no matter what we can do, we can't stop it here on Earth. The goodness is going to come through. Then we're done with this place. I think that's what's happening.
And by we are done with this place, you mean we move to like different planets, or more like we come back home and we stay over there?
I think we move on and on. I think there's, endless planets. In John Davis's NDE, he was in a planetarium on the other side somewhere, and the guy showed him the planets that we can see while we're here in a body, and then he showed him the planets that are really there, and he said it was billions. Wow. And we talk about with this word planets. Edgar Cayce called this the Earth plane, like it's a plane means a dimension, a realm, and so this is a Earth plane. This is a, like a cassette. It's a planet. It's one of many, or like a cigarette. It's like many in a pack, many planes. That's what I think. Many, many, many dimensions, and they're all stacked on top of each other. All the stuff from NASA and all the stuff we grew up with, that there's these rocks out there. We got to fly in a ship to them and stuff. Maybe, but I think it's more that it's other planes, other dimensions, other realms.
Do you have sometimes dreams when you sleep, which are like a glimpses of the NDE?
A glimpse of the NDE?
Yeah, during your dreams.
My dreams are ridiculous. My sleeping now is ridiculous. It's been that way for years. And, I sleep outside, and I just read the other day, I started sleeping outside 10 years ago, and I just read the other day that we live in these square rooms, and, that's sort of a dimension that is kind of confining, unlike a pyramid or a round room. I remember years ago when I'd find myself out of my body, I've never told anybody this, I don't think, but I would find myself like on top of the furniture or something in the room, and the room was like the Matrix. It was this sort of tangerine lights that were going in every direction, and it was holding the room together, this energy. And there's this body that's not all lit up, and it's laying there, and I'm somebody else, and I would go down and look at this body, and there's this old guy, and his head's thrown back, and his mouth's open, and I remember thinking, man, just throw this guy on the burn pile, he's done. and I realized that was me. So that's my body, and I was moving around that room, and then eventually I could move out of the room. I could go through the walls and, move all over. And I did this thing where I was going to a conference, and I was really going to push the envelope and talk about some things that I thought maybe weren't time yet. And I said, what the heck, I'm in my 60s, see what happens. And so I made the slideshow and went outside, went to bed. And I was looking up at the stars, and I was thinking, this will be pretty good. I know how I can word it, and and people will really start thinking differently if they get it. And then somewhere everything slipped, and the whole sky just opened up, and there was this incredible gold woman in the sky, and she was perfect in every way, beautiful and shapely, and everything around me was roaring. Just everything was shaking and roaring, like this constant thunder. And she was really super excited, and she was looking at me, and she had these gold eyes, and I wasn't afraid at all, but I was just said, I am not going to blow this. This is cool. This is right out of the Bible. And I looked right in her gold eyes, and she was just super happy. And she was gesturing behind her. She was going like this, pointing to the stars, and she had these gold wings that were attached, and it's completely right out of some kind of fantasy movie. And it filled the sky, completely filled the sky above me. And I hung in there. I watched it. I was bouncing on the bed, seemingly, and then all of a sudden it just closed up, and it ended with this like boom of lightning, and it trailed off, and boom of thunder. And I thought, well, the wildlife has run, has left the whole valley, and my dogs are upset, and I looked around, everybody was asleep, and so that happened somewhere else, but I was aware of it, absolutely aware of it. And it was like there was I don't know, it was like after that, I looked it up, and this whole thing about Isis, this ancient Egyptian goddess, she's represented with the Statue of Liberty, and she sort of has North America, that's her area, and here I am, this sort of blue-collar guy, lunch pail and hard hat guy, and I'm talking about spiritual things, and I'm telling Westerners, North Americans, that you don't have to go to an ashram for 10 years, and you don't have to do anything. It's within you, and it doesn't have to be this confusing language and ancient texts. You already are everything, and I think that's what she was excited about. Was I was taking on that role of, okay, I'm gonna pitch in here and help with this global awakening. And then after that, whenever I went to sleep, I was elsewhere. It started slowly, but I think that's a lot of people are going to start seeing this in the next year or less than a year. They're going to start seeing other life forms, non-physical life forms. When I leave my body at night, it is an infinite amount of variation. It could see a beautiful girl with a haircut like a 60s haircut, and just funny jewelry and makeup, and just having the wonderful time with her, and she's got a body like face is normal and neck, but then she'll have a body like a lobster or something. Mm-hmm. And this is normal. These beings are infinitely variable, and they're all sweethearts. They're not monsters, and they look a lot like some of the things in our scary movies, like Alien and Terminator, Creature from the Black Lagoon, things like that. They look like that, but they're cool. And I go to things, I go to lectures with them in these halls, and we're on projects, on the bluffs above the beach, these purple oceans, and we're doing something, rolling stuff up or something. And then there's the festivals, and that seems to be something you go to a lot, like very much like Burning Man, where you go to Burning Man, and it's the people there are dressed very sensual and very, anything goes. You can dress any way you want. And
have you ever been to Burning Man yourself?
I've never been.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the pictures because it reminds me of where we come from, where anything goes and everyone's acceptable and everyone's beautiful and fun, and they're all your friends. I know I sound like an absolute lunatic, but
no, I love it. It's a beautiful vision.
But yeah, we're here, and we're chopped down into these little roles, and then our family and our community, and we all got these rules and everything, and everybody abides by them, and don't make a wave. And then when I go to sleep at night, there are no rules. It's I see family members that have passed on or in adventures, and we have nothing to worry about. We go home to absolute joy and fun, and continue to just experience the universe. And we're really pushing the envelope here.
Yeah. I was always wondering if when you are in this NDE state or on the other side, do you miss your body at some point at all, or there is no feeling?
No, I feel absolutely complete on the other side. And there's this movie Inception, where the land is, mm-hmm. Where the landscape is bending around and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've got this place, like an apartment or something in this beach house in this beautiful beach town. And it's full of young, healthy people that love the beach, and they're always happy. And and my wife was with me in this one. She doesn't remember it, but we were doing something. There's no doors on any of the rooms in this place. Everyone likes each other. And you go downtown, and you have like, you're sitting in like a cafe or a deli or something, and what they're eating, you're actually having, ingesting things, but you're eating light. They're serving light, and what was his name? There was this guy. His name was David Rose. He has an NDE. He's a little older, but he talks about being served this uh, plate full of light by this angel when he died to repair his body,
Hmm.
and he talks about how delicious it was. And that's what we're doing here. We're eating fruits and vegetables and greens. It's full of captured light from the sun. We're we're kind of
Exactly.
on
Hmm.
we're kind of on light support down here, and we have to we have to stay with that good food, not the processed food. And we raise our vibration, and we start feeling like we're home, um, heaven on earth.
Yeah, I'm a huge
So
fan of superfoods, of those high vibrational things like
yeah,
spirulina. So, are you happy that NDE is becoming more and more popular? There's so many reports right now, and it's becoming, even doctors and science is changing the way they view, because they were so skeptical for so many years, right?
right. Yeah, it's like I said, I think I think it's a script. Uh, we're in a 24,000 year cycle, and we're just coming out of
Of the
Iron
shadow.
Age. We're coming out of the Dark Age, the Iron
Hmm.
Age, and the light is just coming back in, and it has to. There's a script. Um, there's an order to where the world is going to be focusing its attention, and this NDE thing is corresponding with this end of this Kali Yuga, and we're moving into a Bronze Age, and slowly um, the masses will, their focus will turn, and it's really cool to see because in the 90s, nobody, I know those things were out there now, but I didn't know them then, but there was nowhere for me to turn, and that I knew of, and I just kept it to myself. And the more and more NDEs, a lot of people came out of that era, the late 80s and 90s, um, where they didn't talk about it for years, so that it didn't impact their life. Um, so yeah, it's now all my neighbors, they know who I am. All my friends, all the guys I used to work with in the fire department, all of them know about NDE. People that I went to high school with call me and say, I know you're not lying because, I grew up with you. And what you're saying is so wonderful. And, and people fly in to, they fly into San Luis Obispo and we meet and talk. And it's not unusual at all. Um, so for me, it's really cool because there was this shame initially. And then, when I saw the or the DMT movie, it's like, okay, forget the shame and all that. That's a waste of time. Something really cool is going on here. Let's go check it out. And that was my approach. I wasn't trying. I didn't join a religion or anything like that. I just went and checked it out. And you hang around shamans. These guys are not big talkers. They're not there to talk. They're not there to tell you anything. They're there to put you in a position for you to take the step through the portal and to come back and figure out what was that? What just happened? How could they do that?
Hmm.
And
Would you be so kind and share with us what happened during your ayahuasca experience?
yeah, I was not who I am today. I was kind of know-it-all, kind of arrogant, and um, like I said earlier, I drank maybe 2 beers a year,
But
and
that
so
was
I went
before your ND or after your ND? Your,
uh, the the 2 beers a year.
no, no, the ayahuasca experience.
The ayahuasca was right after I retired, so it was
Hmm.
about 16 years after the NDE.
Hmm.
And what I thought I saw from Straussman's book was I could return to that clinic and those same three guys. And if I could repeat that, I was going to be pretty shocked. But I thought I could, and that's not what ayahuasca does. Ayahuasca opens up the whole closet full of emotional traumas that we all carry, and that's why they call it a healing ceremony. You carry these, emotional baggage, and so to answer your question, I was at this place in Costa Rica, and sounds like that cat was unhappy. Oh, I'll just go let him in, okay?
Sure, sure.
He's
Can
an
we
old
take
guy.
a half a minute break? I just go to
Heck yeah.
I'll be right back. How many cats do you have, Bill?
I have 3 now. We have 3
awesome.
now.
I love cats so much. I call
Yeah,
them,
I wasn't really a cat person, but then with what's going on, cats these are connected. These are divine beings.
yeah, I call them
They
little
were,
cats. They're watching us here, right?
yeah, they're watching us, or they watch over us. When we sleep, they watch our soul. Um, back in Egyptian times, if somebody was mean to a cat, it was a really serious crime. So,
Yep. So you were saying about the ayahuasca that it brings a lot of emotions,
yeah,
and
it's a healing. They call it a healing ceremony, and when I drank ayahuasca, uh, I had this big glass. It was like a chocolate malt. It was really thick, and it was, you see these things. They have a little shot glass, and it's like a tea. It's kind of clear, but mine wasn't. You had to chew it down practically, and I thought, well, it didn't look like the video I watched, but the shaman seems like a nice guy. So, but anyway, it's a really, if you go with the Taita Juanito, he's a tiger shaman, and they do it the traditional way, where they give you a dose. He can look at your energy, see what you need, and give you a hard dose to send you where you need to go. And so yeah, I was down in Nosara, Costa Rica, and they said they were having a ceremony. I mentioned something about it. I was staying there for weeks, and they said there's going to be a ceremony in the desert, out in the jungle, and so I said, "Yeah, man, put me down." And so a few weeks later, it happened, and I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't, and it was really cool, with firelight and stuff, and these guys are dressed all wild, like, wild natives, and they were very serious, and I thought, wow, this is cool, and then I drank everything he gave me, and about an hour later, the whole ceiling just opened up, and I was looking out a spiral that went off into, I could see out into space, and there was this giant spiral, and then there was this light coming off of the legs of the spiral. It's like I was looking up at a DNA spiral, and then there was this rose-colored light, and then there was this tangerine butterscotch. I've never seen anything like it. It was just coming through on these different places on these legs, and it was information, communication, and I kind of drifted off, and then I woke up over my bucket, just really purging, super hard, sounded like a jet engine, just incredible amount of force when you throw up, and out of me came this roaring sound. It wasn't a lot of liquid or anything, because you don't eat a lot going into it, but it
it
was
was
just
more
this
like
roaring.
energy, like purging
Yeah, it
of
was like,
energy. Hmm.
yeah, it was like energy, and it was this black, dark blue, blackish sort of mist or a gel or a fog, but it came out of me, and it moved across the floor. It kind of undulated. It looked like a liquid moving inside of another liquid, not of this world. There's no way to really explain it. And I kind of was really freaked out about that. I'm like, what is happening? And prior to that, I could feel like I was being punched in certain organs and stuff. It felt like I was getting punched in my body. And I asked one of the helper guys, one of the shaman helper guys, and he said that the medicine is collecting all the energy and bringing it to the stomach. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. And then I purged it all. And I felt, the next day I felt amazing. I never felt like that. And I think that it was that day, or maybe the next day after that, I went for a run, and I ran like 7 miles every day. And I ran my run 3 times. I never got tired. I never got winded. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, man, you better stop." And so, yeah, all of us are burdened by these emotional traumas. This life and past lives, they just accumulate, and they create illness and sickness and limitation. And, we think differently about what our potential is, or our possibilities. And when you remove it, you realize that there are no limitations, that you can manifest anything.
Yeah, that's what ayahuasca showed me as well, that my mind is setting up limitations all the time. And it pushed me through like thousands of membranes of madness, because I was very stubborn during that experience. Before I understand, it took a lot of suffering. I was like going nuts over there. I was so mad at the spirit of ayahuasca, and then in the morning, understanding came.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard night, but they say you can do 20 years of psychoanalyst, or 10 years of meditation, or 1 night of ayahuasca.
Exactly, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
But it's I just tell people, yeah, go do it. It's not gonna hurt you. You're gonna end up back where you started. Mm-hmm. But you're going to really go places that you can't even begin to imagine.
But for some people, it could be beautiful. I remember there was a lot of women during in the group, and some of them were there for like maybe 30, 40 times, and for them it was just like a divine flying to a cosmos, and such a beautiful experience. For the first timers, is usually quite the challenge, right?
Yeah, it's
there is a lot of healing needed during that experience, right?
Yeah, and some people get away with it, that the first couple times or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, the medicine has figured out you're ready, and takes you on that into the pit. There's like Juanito explained the next day. He said there's 4 things that can happen to you. You can have nothing happen. You sit all night, watch everybody else, and no matter how much you drink. That's an interesting statement. It means you're not ready. Or you can see the grids. That's the second thing. You can see the grids all around us and realize this is a really well done illusion. And then the next one was, you can see a movie playing. It's like you go into a trance and you see reality from other aspects, and you can step into the movie and you can step out of it, and then the last one is the pit, where the whole world just comes crashing down on you. And for me, that's what happened to me. I was just for hours, I was just rolling around on the ground and moaning, and just waves of terror, one after another, and to the point where I was sitting there going, okay, I'm absolutely terrified and horrified, and this crushing fear, but where's it coming from? I'm not fearful. I don't have anything that I'm fearful of, but I'm experiencing incredible waves of fear. And I think that, I don't know anything about it, but I think that that is the pit. And the pit is a turning point for people when they go through that suffering, that massive suffering. But yeah, I didn't. If I had known, I probably wouldn't have signed up. But I didn't know, and I went through it. And this thing about healing in a lot of spirituality, a lot of the mysterious, mystical things are in our movies. They're coded in our movies, and in that movie, The Green Mile, there's a guy, a big black guy, John Coffey.
That's also a movie as well. One of my favorites.
And he's a healer, and he's pulling those energies out of people that are making them sick, is emotional baggage that turns into sickness, and then he discharges it. He blows it out, and that is exactly. I mean, his looks like little flies or something, but that's exactly what happened to me. I just discharged this mist, liquid gel. Nobody else could see it. The shaman saw it, and he told one of his guys to go over there and sweep that area and move all that negative energy out into the jungle, because it would find somebody else to climb onto.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I get your point. So, did you have only one ayahuasca experience, or was it several?
It was about half a dozen, and so I had that one that night, that first time, and it was absolutely crushing. But he told me, one of the guys told me, can't remember his name right now, and he said, he whispered, because they kept doing this with the blow and with the palm frond things, and they kept taking me back up for these cleansings, and then when he put me back on my bed, and I curled up in a sniveling ball of suffering, he just said, at one point, you're going to have to find the courage to surrender to the softer voice, the softer you. And
Was it
took
hard for you to surrender to that softer voice?
Well, yeah, I had no idea what was going on, and he said, count your breaths and just stay in this rhythm of counting, and and relax and go to that softer voice. And when I did, everything changed, and it was getting near the end. It was probably 4 a.m. by then, and everything changed, and I was like completely blissed out. I started, bouncing on the ground, vibrating. It was coming from my tailbone, and it was embarrassing because we were on this wood thing, and I was like, he came over and he put his hand on my chest, and I said, "What's happening?" He goes, "Good. It's all good, bro. It's all good." and I said, "I don't feel like I can hang on," meaning it didn't feel like it was going to stay in my body. It felt like I was going to fall out my body and through the floor and be gone into this, blissful existence. And I was struggling to hang on to staying human. It was a bizarre feeling. But then everything, the sun comes up and everything's cool. They're playing, instruments, and I went and got some fruit, and there were these ladies from India. They were across the way, and they came over, and they had tears in their eyes, and they were touching me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Oh, they're so proud of you." And and I go, "Well, I didn't really know what was going on." But when we went to breakfast, the shaman guys were sitting there, and they asked me. Everybody was laughing and stuff, and he asked me what I thought, and I'm like, "What do I think?" It's like, "How did you guys do that?" And if people knew how much more of them existed beyond what they see in the mirror, the world would have no problems. And I was high-fiving those guys and stuff. I was like, "Man, you guys took me to the end." to the very end. I had nothing left. I didn't even have my dignity. And then you brought me back. And, I was just, I was a fireman. So I was used to, seat of the pants stuff, scary stuff like rappelling or going into a burning building. And
Hmm.
then afterwards, you're with your bros and it's like, man, that was close. The ceiling collapsed and we barely made it. And but it was like that. I had that sort of attitude, like, dude, that was close. You guys, how did you do that? They thought
Yeah,
that was cute, just like
yeah,
you. They were laughing.
yeah. I feel you. Like 2, 3 years ago, I was in Ecuador in the jungle, and we had a session with San Pedro. That's the psychedelic which is opening your heart. And they were just those waves of love, flowing. And I wasn't ready for that much love. I couldn't process it. And the shaman was laughing at me. There were some other people, and they said, "Well, how we can help you?" And I said, maybe a drink, like of alcohol. And imagine that he had in the middle of the jungle, he had alcohol in the powder version. You just add water to it. I never seen it
Whoa!
in my life. And it was very strong. And they gave me 2 drinks, and it really helped. And they also had 1 or 2 drinks, and we were laughing for like over an hour, just crying, with this love flowing. It was such a beautiful experience. And I've seen a very bright future during that experience, like the huge abundance is coming for humanity. If we play
All
it,
right.
if we will play it wisely, of course. Did,
Yeah,
did, did
that's
you
awesome.
did you have some other experiences, psychedelic experiences besides ayahuasca, or just ayahuasca?
Just ayahuasca. I bought some. You can in the States you can buy mushrooms now, but I
Yeah,
bought those.
I love mushrooms. They're my guides.
Yeah, the I bought the little teachers, I think they're called, or something like that.
Golden
And
teachers.
so it's yeah, and they've been sitting there for a couple of years.
Hmm.
And if all I have to do is just kind of let go, sit quietly and let go, and then that bliss starts, and then the colors, and then the grids, and you can go past that, and before you know it, your body is just when you come back, you go through all this bliss, and you come back to your body, it's like a corpse, trying to get it restarted. It's You can really go far. So I haven't had any real need for the mushrooms. I think I got them there for my wife if I can ever get her to,
Is,
loosen up.
is she up to that, or there's a fear within her,
There's a,
or maybe some
uh,
other obstacle?
yeah, I think she's awesome. She's fantastic. Um, but when she sees me vibrating and stuff, and I just say, here, you can probably get there with the psilocybin,
Hmm.
start small, and you can probably get a feel for what is happening to me naturally. It happens to all of us. This Kundalini energy, once those crystals in your pineal gland get activated, then you're just in this thing all the time. And it's just a matter of finding an opportunity to let go. But until she gets there, or till anybody gets there, the hallucinogenics are, they give you the vibration that comes naturally with awakening. They give you a temporary um, look at that vibration. And, just like when you drink coffee, it affects you for a few hours. They alters your vibration, and that's what the mushrooms do. And you get to break through the veil in some way. I guess a lot of things are different. Like San Pedro is different from psilocybin. They all got their own frequency. So those are, I think those things are really valuable because um, everyone wants, because we can't remember, and everyone wants a experience. And ayahuasca and mushrooms. There's a bunch of other things they can give you an experience. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's I totally agree, and I'm very happy that psychedelics are becoming legal, decriminalizing. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think these tools are the hope for humanity, and it's about time for us to catch up with nature and our planet. But would you say that that NDE state is at some point comparable with the like ayahuasca experience, or it's completely different?
I would say that, so you asked me about did I do it again, and I came back 6 months later because the night was so rough, and I couldn't leave it at that, and I came back 6 months later to Taita, and I asked him, could I take a little bit less? And he remembered me. He said, you were over in that corner, and you had a heck of a time. And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'll give you a little bit less.
And he gave you a little bit less.
He gave me a little bit less, but he's still a Colombian shaman from the Amazon. He looks like some kind of warrior with the the way he dresses and stuff. And so it was still, instead of 4 big chewy gulps, it was 3. And I recommend that you respect the shamans.
For sure.
Don't try to dose yourself. Respect those guys. Get a good one, and then put your life in his hands for the night. Don't half-ass it. There's a lot of half-ass ayahuasca ceremonies out there that are watered down.
Watered down.
And
Yeah.
and just from my experience, you're supposed to, go to that place where you don't know what's going on. You still got your senses. You're not out of control, drunk or something, but you're not who you were earlier in the day. You're not that anymore. You're way more. It opens up the perception of the soul and the higher self, and even beyond that. That's what ayahuasca does. And your awareness can bounce between those places. And I distinctly remember looking back at myself, who was rolling on the ground and moaning and complaining, and I remember looking at myself going, man, that dude is blowing it, and he needs to lighten up. And I brought that back, that impression, lighten up, lighten up on everything. And a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics, they have ayahuasca, and they look back at themselves and they say, I can do better than what
Way
he's
better.
doing.
Yeah.
And then they never drink again. This is a common thing. So I know you asked me a question. Was it, did I get close to an answer?
My question was: is that NDE state at some point comparable with the psychedelic state, or is it way different? Is it a different vibration? I think
Yeah,
that was my
the
question.
the NDE, like I said in the beginning, is an invitation. It's a planned event, absolutely planned event. It's a big moment in your life. Is he going to take the bait and look inward? But then the ayahuasca is, you're going through the portal on your own, and it's not really something set up on the other side. So, I had that long period of suffering, and then it sort of slowed down, and then I had this awareness of moving between the soul and the perception from the higher self. So in that regard, it was very similar, that you were no longer Bill. I was no longer the guy that was rolling around on the ground and creating all the fuss and all the drama, emotional drama in the evening. Everybody else was cool, but you could tell it was his issue. So in that regard, yeah, you do see that there is way more to you.
But there's no suffering in NDE, right? That's what people report. No suffering whatsoever, just bliss and love.
Yeah, I didn't have any suffering in the NDE at all, but some of them do. Like Katie, what's her name? Anyway, she wrote a book, Expatriate from Hell to Heaven or something like that. But she had incredible suffering, and she realized that she was doing it herself and with her thoughts. And she's changed her thoughts, and the hell realm stopped.
Yeah, I think I've seen this NDE. Yeah, that she was like in the void for like earthly years would be like 10 years, right? I think so.
Yeah, she was. And then there's the other guy. I can't think of his name. He's the old guy. He's one of my favorites. Shoot, I can't remember things so much anymore. But he was also a thing where he went straight to hell, and he saw, there's a video of him out that came out recently. It's a short, and he talked about walking with Jesus and seeing all of these very strange beings. He knew they were friendly and they were harmless, but they were really bizarre looking. Wish I should write stuff down before I start talking to you guys, so that I got their names.
That's fine. That's not the point. So would you say that NDE could be a blessing for something, like a blessing in not like something bad happening for a human, but something really what we may call blessing?
Absolute blessing. It's an absolute, it's an invitation to wake up to who you really are. And, part of the deal of coming in here is this loss of memory. And it's an invitation to take what happened in your experience and look further. To ask the question. That's all the other side wants. To ask, and you will be answered. Knock, and the door will open. And you just have to mean it, because they can absolutely read, your intentions, your motivations. That's what the real universe is about. Your honest intentions, motivations. And yeah, when you ask, prayer, and you really mean it, they'll step in. And so, yeah, it's a blessing. NDE is an absolute blessing.
Humanity is using this word, this term, God. What is your understanding of this term, God?
I think the term God means the collective consciousness of all of us. We're all a part of the same larger consciousness, and that is I know it sounds redundant, but that is in a sea of pure love. And when you had your blissful experience with San Pedro, that waves of pure love were just coming in, and you're closer to God when that veil has broken down, with the short time on the San Pedro, that you get to experience that pure love.
That's a beautiful term. At the end, I would like to ask you, Bill, from all of your experiences, NDE, etc., what should the one focus on right now? Like being kind, helping others. What do you think should be the core values for humanity right now? We should express on a daily basis.
For right now, because everybody feels it. The other shoe's going to drop soon. Things are going to change. Maybe they're only changing on our screens. And if you're in a farm in Kansas or something, you never see any problems. But yeah, I think there's going to be changes, and the thing that the thing that you said, should we focus on?
Yes, like on what kind of values? Like if someone would love to really progress being human nowadays, uh, what should we focus on? Like gratitude, love, helping others, being kind, to help, spread that light, to make this planet, to raise the vibration. We can use different words to make this life more, maybe a little bit easier, less suffering. There's so much suffering, so much confusion right now.
Right, right. I think that just going from my own life, because in the 90s and stuff, I saw things changing. And and it's just continued, and it's part of the script. It's part of how it's going to go. And what, I had the NDE, and I had the, after retirement, I had the things that I did, and ayahuasca, and when I got down to, I did a half a dozen times or so. Other times it was kind of a lightweight ceremony with the ayahuasca. But then I stayed down there in Central America, and I was in this village, and I learned about silence and stillness in nature. I didn't know this at the time, but it was a blue zone, this super nature-powered place. The closer you get to nature, the closer you get to the supernatural, which is what we're talking about, the mystical. Mm-hmm. And if you focus on stillness and silence and raising your vibration, everything we've talked about, the sun and structured water and magnetic Mother Earth, reconnect to all these things that sound like fantasy, and you will feel the vibrations changing your body, and you'll feel that love coming back, and all those things that you said about service to others and love and kindness, they just kind of flow naturally. You don't have to make an effort to help others. That's all you want to do. Mm-hmm. All you want to do is blend in and give back, because you've kind of figured this place out. It's really a rough ride until you reconnect with who you really are, the vibration of the sun, and fill yourself up with light and warmth and love. That's the sun. And then I know it sounds hokey, but it just feels so good to be all those things that you just mentioned, mm-hmm. and to keep helping out and keep giving back, and it just keeps going. It's like a rocket, and you just keep climbing, and that's what the universe wants from us. Mm-hmm. It wants us to become these really sweet souls that want to blend in and give back.
Do you have this deep inner peace right now within you?
Yeah, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. It's not fair. I should be able to give it to. I should be able to give it to some of these kids, but the only thing I can do is I can give them the formula, and again, it's get back to the natural world. This divine place was constructed for us. Get back in its program. Unplug, de-screen, detox, and fill yourself up with light, and everything will be fine.
It's such a beautiful message. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to also mention that as a Beyond the Courage, we support this amazing foundation, which is called The Gift of Heart. An amazing group of people over the last 40 years helped to save life of 1,500 kids. We'll place the link in the description. Is there anything else you would like to add, Bill, today to this such a beautiful conversation? Something may be coming anytime, next year, or the year after, next month, I don't know. But it's all kind of prompts for everyone
to start to remember. It's time to remember who we really are. And, we're graduating back to a new golden age, and well, we have to match the frequency of that golden age and to climb with it. And everything will be fine.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
I gotta admit that you got such a strong, beautiful energy. I feel it in my solar plexus, like the beams of light are just striking my body. It's amazing, really amazing. Thank you so much
Oh, cool.
for sharing. And
Yeah, I
for
appreciate that. I'm going to
and
tell my wife that that's what you, she,
I never felt such a strong, beautiful light energy from any human being.
well, thanks, Robert. I hear that a lot, and I try to live up to it. And yeah, it's not lost on me. Something has happened, and I have a little part to play that's helping people. And it's not going to happen all at once, but it's the beginning. And, we're moving back into a new golden age where it's just heaven on earth. And this is the beginning of it. And it's not lost on me.
And thank you so much for spreading such a beautiful message. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
What are your plans for the near future? Maybe you can share at the end.
So my plans, we're here on a few acres, and I never want to leave. The deer come by and the geese land, and I cook breakfast down by the lake, and and then work on the place, and I think it's been 30 years we've been here now, and I think that's been sort of a precursor to, I think I don't know what the schedule is, but I think we're supposed to go back to living a sustained life, maybe on your own, smaller communities, and sustainable to where we're not tearing up the earth with our over consumption, and that everything else that lives here, has a place, and you grow fresh food and you gather your own water, and it's not that hard, and it's a very fulfilling, wonderful, full life. So if our current life, American lifestyle, mainstream, if that starts to, come unraveled, just let it go, and go with the plan, and become sort of a sustainable, smaller group, and you can have a wonderful life. That's what I think.
I love it. That's a beautiful message. All right. Thank you so much. Our guest today was Bill Letson. Thank you so much, Bill, from the deepest core of my heart for this conversation.
Thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure meeting you, sir.
And enjoy being human in this paradise on earth.
Okay, thanks.
My name is Robert Canis. There was another Beyond the Couch podcast. Thank you, everyone.